Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Also, welcome back to this I'm a Celeb series. So we are on episode 9. So tonight's episode didn't include a trial. It included Kate's, Andy's, Miles and Nadine's half of the live trial to collect the care packages, so I'll be talking about that and not the actual trial. We also found out who got voted to do the next trial, which was Andrew. It was between Jacqueline and Andrew, and obviously Andrew ended up with the trial and Jacqueline was super happy not to be doing it for a change. And tomorrow's trial is called the Arc of Agony. So jumping straight into the episode and everyone's feelings, the campmates and everything that's going on. Obviously in the previous episode we saw Andrew and Ian get into a huge fight, which seemed to be started by Andrew, and I'm not entirely sure how it started, but they hugged and made up, which is great because obviously we don't need tension in the camp. When Ian did wake up, he was bored and so decided to jog around camp, and he was just jogging and running around, and he went up to the dunny and Roman was in there minding his own business when Ian decided to sort of walk in, and so Roman scared him from being inside the dunny, which I thought was kind of amusing, and it was nice that they weren't overly bothered and Ian out and out told Roman he scared him. Roman was still super upset with himself about not getting the stars, which was only made worse by the fact that he did get his care package, and I'll talk about that in a moment. James did try and cheer him up though and told him that he tried his best, and even if if James thought he hadn't, that he'd be honest with him and tell him he hadn't tried hard enough. And they were all super disappointed that, they couldn't get all 12 stars, but that they had to understand sometimes people just lost out, and it was sad, but it would be okay. So when obviously Kate, Andy, Miles and Nadine came back, they told them that they had got care packages. They pretended to only get 3 when they got 12, so they got everyone's care packages, and obviously everyone was thrilled, and that's when everyone told them about the fact that Ian, Cliff and Andy wouldn't be going for a roast dinner with them, and sweet Andy said he didn't really care much, and that he only cared that he got his care package, so that was very sweet. The other thing that seemed surprising in this episode was that Ian was not angry about food, and considering he had been a particularly hangry person and he got very irritated about not getting food when he didn't get it, was a nice turn of events, and I think it's very sweet of Ian, and I think he partially did that so Roman wouldn't feel bad about it, and also he cooked for Cliff and Andy, which was very nice of him. Before we get into the roast dinner, there was a little bit of Beangate. So while left alone in camp because their 2 chefs, Nadine and Miles, were out of camp, James decided he was gonna start prepping food so that everyone could eat, particularly Ian, Andy and Cliff, because they were only having rice and beans. And when he went through the supplies, he found 21 bags of beans had been sort of pushed aside and hadn't been looked after, I guess, properly. And he did have a conversation with Miles and Nadine when they got back. I kind of think it was an inappropriate time. Everyone was in a really good mood, but James is leader, he has to make those decisions and he has to think of everyone and kind of be the Debbie Downer, I guess. But it did mean that people went hungry the day before, and that did upset people, obviously, because they could have been having more food. They didn't have to go hungry, but these things happen. I think everybody knows that, so they're just gonna be on top of it a little bit more. James also put himself in charge of bean count, so basically whoever goes and gets their morning food supplies in the day goes and gives them to James so he can count them out and make sure they're staying on top of stuff. So moving on to the roast dinner. When they got there, it was in a clearing and there was chicken and gravy, corn on the cob, there was a chicken stuffed with stuffing. Roman looked like he was gonna pass out or God knows what else. Then they stuffed themselves, which I think everyone does when they get to go for that big meal, but will they suffer for it over the next couple of days? We'll have to wait and see. While they were sat eating, they asked Caitlin what her Thanksgivings normally looked like. So Caitlin told them about how she would normally hire a catering staff and they would cook and clean and tidy up after, so you had nothing to do, and she would have family and friends over, but she'd be missing it this year because she was in the jungle. So they basically treated that like a Thanksgiving, and I think that's partially why we're going to end up talking about Caitlin sneaking contraband or leftovers into camp and giving it to Ian. So she took in a half-eaten corn on the cob and went and snuck it to Ian. Bless him. She wasn't exactly sneaky about it though. Very sweet. She does melt my heart. Ian was not exactly subtle about eating the leftovers either, but it does leave the question of what will happen about the contraband. Will Caitlin be in trouble for it? Will it affect the whole camp? We'll have to wait and see. So on to the care packages. Everyone had something different. Obviously they had letters. Some people were more emotional than others. We learned a nickname, James, from his wife, which is Flower, and Ian got his Victoria sponge. Caitlin got a picture of her dogs and some chocolate biscuits. Miles really cried, bless him, and he got Doritos, which he was super happy about. And they all read each other's letters like they have done in previous series, and I certainly think it gave them the boost they needed to keep going. And I think after the live trial it was certainly something they all needed, particularly Roman. I think he needed that reminder that he was doing okay. So to move on to, I guess, the trial of this episode, which was them collecting or them winning their care packages. So as I said, it was Kate, Nadine, Miles and Andy who went off. And for the first challenge, they had to abseil off a cliff. So Nadine helped Kate down, she held the weight and lowered her. And when Kate got her package and reached the floor, she helped Nadine and get down. And they both got their packages and they all did super well. Kate went down first and, to be fair, had no help, but she helped the other three get down. Kate did kiss the ground when she got down leather, which was a little strange, but I guess if you're scared of heights, kind of understandable, you have to face your fears and then help someone else down them. They were only given 2 hours to get all 12 packages, but everyone was determined to get all 12 or as many as they could, which is also why they left their own 4 personal packages until the very end, which was very sweet. So if they didn't get the last 4, they're the only people who were suffering was themselves. The abseiling down the cliff did take them 45 minutes, which left them with 1 hour and 15 to get 8 more packages, which is roughly 9 minutes per package. So they were doing pretty well. For their second test, they had to split into 2 pairs, and so Andy and Kate went together, Nadine and Mal went together. They went on separate little boats, and then when they arrived, Kate had to give Miles and Nadine coordinates and help them sort of from their start walk in different directions to find a package. Their first one, it took them a little bit longer than necessary, but once they got into the groove of it, they pretty quickly figured it out. And again, it took them 45 minutes to get their second 4 packages, but also to get to their next destination to get the last 4 packages, which were their own. And then for their last trial, they had to do some core body strength and hold on to ropes and walk across a tightrope style thing over some water, and they then had to grab their package and fall into the water, and they all did it with 2 minutes to spare. Kate and Andy really kind of struggled with their balance, but they did it. Nadine and Miles did great, and Miles very nearly fell in, but he managed to save himself and get his package. Miles did talk the other 3 through walking along the tightrope to get to their package, and was really calm and collected and told them not to hurry, just to keep strong, and they could do it. And I think with his sort of help and leadership, that's how they got all 12 packages. So that's the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Also click that subscribe button and the little notification bell, and I will see you all next time. Bye.